So it's one of the best examples that I know of where basic research and clinical research have come together to lead to a new treatment for a disease.
He didn't know what it was, but he said it didn't look good. Something was going on that in 3 or 4 years I could need a lung transplant. Within 3 days he did have a name for it. And it's called lymphangioliomyomatosis.
Lymphangioliomyomatosis, or LAM, is a lung disease.
At first I thought, great, it has a name. When something has a name, you can fix it. Then I started looking up things.
LAM is a rare disease that affects primarily women.
And I think in all of human disease, this has one of the strongest gender predispositions, with the exception of diseases that arise from the genital organs.
LAM for me is an infiltration of these smooth muscle type cells in my lungs. It eats up healthy lung tissue and leaves holes.
Those patients with this abnormality will have the decline in their lung functions, and eventually they will need oxygen supply.
Fortunately for me, these holes in my lungs have not caused a lung collapse. For many patients, when they're on the surface of the lung, they will pop, and that happens in about 2/3, 3/4 of LAM patients.
The progression of LAM is quite variable. So some women have a very rapid decline in lung function. For other women, the course seems to be much less rapid.
Worst scenario is their disease will just getting worse and worse.
The progress in LAM is just amazing, and it really stems from very basic discoveries.
Some really amazing studies came out in the early 90s when in the fruit fly, Drosophila, it was found that some genes that when they were mutated would cause cells in flies to become very large.
So investigators were trying to figure out what genes regulate the size of each cell of the eye of the fruit fly.
So it turned out that these TSC genes that are mutated in tuberous sclerosis and in LAM were the same genes that were mutated in flies.
And that led to recognition that the tuberous sclerosis genes regulate cell size via a kinase, or a protein which is abbreviated mTOR. And these two observations came together to allow the field to do a clinical trial of an mTOR inhibitor in LAM.
We had found also in the early 90s that rapamycin would inhibit the TOR pathway. It was a very short period of time before rapamycin was now undergoing clinical trials for LAM patients.
Since then, the mTOR inhibitor became available, then the field can use this new concept to treat the patient.
So what I did was go on it through the benefit of the LAM clinic, and that really, really did help me. I noticed I could run up the stairs. And then at the top think, oh yeah, you couldn't do this before. And it's nice to go for your pulmonary function tests and not see the graph going down, rather going up a little bit.
So the amazing progress of finding out that an mTOR inhibitor can block loss of lung function in LAM has not been our stopping point.
I am very optimistic that we're going to be able to come up with very potent therapies in the next 5 to 10 years.
I am so optimistic. I am really optimistic because I know what they accomplished in such a short period of time.
There also is the recognition that this is a very urgent need, and women continue to die of LAM.
They're just brilliant, the scientists. We are so grateful that they chose to study LAM. That is like amazing. There's so many things they could be working on.
So we are incredibly optimistic, yet at the same time we know we need to do better.
And when we know that they're working on something that's going to affect us and the next young women who are diagnosed, it is so beautiful.
We really want to do the right thing, and we want to do it quickly so that we can impact their lives, not today and tomorrow, but 10 years from now. So they're there for their families and their children and able to do the things that they care about.